Last time, we hunted down the invisible money leaks, the subscriptions and delivery fees quietly draining hundreds per month. Tonight's episode is the next layer of that problem.
And honestly, this one is more insidious because it doesn't happen to people who are bad with money. It happens to people who are doing well.
The lifestyle creep trap. Cody, what are people going to understand by the end of tonight?
By the end of this, you'll know exactly how a salary jump can quietly leave you financially worse off, and the one structural role that immunizes you against it permanently.
Here's what lifestyle creep actually is. Think of your spending as water in a glass. Your salary is how much water you pour in. For most people, no matter how much water goes in, the glass never fills up.
Because the glass expands with every pour.
Exactly. A $30,000 salary means a studio apartment, cooking at home, a second-hand car. A $70,000 salary means a nicer flat, restaurant twice a week, a newer car lease. $150,000 salary means premium memberships, business class upgrades, and a mortgage on a house with rooms nobody uses.
And at every step, it felt like a reward, like proof that the hard work was paying off.
Right, but here's the thing. If your expenses scale perfectly in proportion to your income at every level, your savings percentage never actually improves. You are running on a treadmill that moves faster every time you get a promotion.
Which is how you end up with professionals earning $200,000 a year who genuinely cannot survive a 3-month income interruption.
And they're not irresponsible people. They're people who never consciously decided to let their lifestyle expand. It just did. Each individual upgrade felt reasonable. Together, they compounded into a trap.
Okay, the mechanics, because I want people to understand how this happens at a psychological level, not just a financial one.
There's a concept in psychology called the reference point shift. Your brain doesn't measure happiness in absolute terms. It measures it relative to what you are used to.
So the first time you take a taxi instead of the bus, it feels like a genuine luxury. The third month, it's just how you get around, and the bus feels like a downgrade.
Your reference point shifted, and now maintaining that taxi habit costs exactly what it always did, but it no longer generates any pleasure. It's just the baseline.
So every upgrade eventually becomes the new floor, and the only way to feel the same pleasure again is to upgrade again.
Which is the lifestyle creep engine in its purest form. And research from Princeton found that the emotional benefit of additional spending flatlines significantly after a household hits around $100,000 in annual income. In 2026 terms, probably closer to 120, accounting for inflation.
Meaning, above that threshold, more spending genuinely stops making you happier, but it doesn't stop costing you money.
So, what is the structural immunization? The so what before we get to the story?
The rule is, when income rises, allocate the increase before it ever touches your lifestyle, not after. The moment a raise arrives, 50% goes to savings or investment. The other 50% you can spend however you want.
Because you can't creep into money you never received.
That's the whole game. Okay, let's prove it with a real story.
In 1986, a Ronald Reed from Brattleboro, Vermont died and left an $8 million estate to his local library and hospital. He had spent his entire career earning a teacher's salary, never more than $40,000 per year.
$8 million on a teacher's salary.
His secret was almost embarrassingly simple. For his entire adult life, he lived on approximately 60% of whatever he earned, regardless of what that number was. When he got cost of living adjustments, he didn't adjust his cost of living. He redirected the difference.
He froze his reference point deliberately. His lifestyle in 1986 was almost identical to his lifestyle in 1956.
And the 40% he consistently invested through market crashes, through recessions, through decades of ordinary life, compounded quietly into $8 million. He wore secondhand clothes and drove a used car. His neighbors had no idea.
Which is the other piece of this. The people who look richest are often the ones who have the least, and the people who look most ordinary are sometimes the ones who are genuinely free.
Wealth is largely invisible. Lifestyle is visible. And our brains are wired to chase the visible signal, not the invisible one.
Okay, I'm playing devil's advocate now, because someone is about to say, I worked hard for this raise. I deserve to enjoy it. Isn't life about more than just saving?
And I want to be really direct here. Yes, absolutely. Enjoyment is the entire point. But the question is, are you enjoying the upgrade, or are you simply maintaining a new baseline that no longer feels like enjoyment?
Because the first business class flight is an experience. The 40th is just how you fly. The marginal joy of that upgrade is approaching zero, but the cost never changes.
The 50-50 split isn't about deprivation. It's about preserving your ability to choose later. Future you gets to decide what to do with that accumulated wealth. Travel, retire early, fund your kids' education, give it away. Present you keeps 50% of every raise to spend freely.
Second objection. What if my income is too low to split anything? What if there's nothing left after rent and food?
At genuinely low incomes, the percentage changes, but the principle doesn't. Even a 5% allocation from a small raise matters more psychologically than financially. You're training the behavior before the big income jumps arrive.
Because the people who struggle most with lifestyle creep are the ones who never built the habit when the stakes were low. The raise hits and they have no muscle memory to resist the expansion.
Okay, 3 micro actions. If money is tight right now, calculate your current savings percentage, even if it's 0. Write it down. That number is the one you're going to systematically increase, starting with the very next raise, no matter how small. If you earn a decent income and have lifestyle crept, identify the 3 most expensive upgrades in your life right now. For each one, ask, does this still generate the same joy it did when I first got it? The honest answers will tell you where your reference points have quietly reset.
And if you're in a high earning phase, set up the 50-50 rule before your next paycheck arrives, not after, before. Route half of any new income directly to investment before your brain adapts to expecting it.
The goal isn't to live like Ronald Reed, unless you want to. The goal is to make deliberate choices about which upgrades actually improve your life versus which ones have just become invisible obligations.
Tomorrow night, we are going somewhere deeper. Because even people who crack the lifestyle creep problem, who save diligently, invest consistently, and do everything right, often still feel broke. Not financially broke, psychologically broke. Like the number in the account is never quite enough. That's the hedonic treadmill, and it might be the most important episode of this entire series. See you in the next node.